Welcome to Nostalgia Pilots, a Gundam fancast that has to change its whole life plan. I'm Hugh.
I'm Jurd.
And I'm Spence. Banks will be along shortly.
And we're here to talk about Gundam the 8th MS Team Episode 9, The Front Line.
Dun dun dun!
And Eledore's back.
Yay!
No.
So, I think, I don't know, this probably isn't true for the dub, but I think that in the Japanese version, they changed his voice actor. Like, he actually sounds whinier.
Yeah, I was considerably unimpressed with Eledore in this episode, but I do want to touch on the opening Akira-style explosion before we move on too far.
Oh, yes. Like we open with a thrilling space battle. We see the Absolus falling out of the high atmosphere, looking like cooler than it has at any point in the show.
Yeah,
and then
you realize suddenly that this thing is meant to be used in space, and that's why it's constantly useless when it's down on Earth level and stuck on the ground.
No, but it flies directly to freaking Jarborough, which is the capital of the Earth, or at least the Earth military, and blows it to hell.
Yep, gives it the old Akira nuke. And then we cut away from that and realized it was a simulation. And did you guys notice the credits on the simulation?
Yeah, there were a ton of credits for the simulation, and I'm like, how much did Earth Special Forces spend on this, high-end video production of their own base being destroyed?
I love that was the detail they nailed. They're like, produced by, written by, special thanks to.
Like, it had a special thanks credits.
So the trivia for that is that nobody has confirmed whether or not these are actual people who worked on the episode or not.
I did wonder at the time. I was like, is this... A, did they copy and paste this out of some other location again? Is it another one of those situations where we're getting Photoshop instructions? Or B, is it just the actual staff that are inserting their names in there?
It is unknown.
But we do get a couple of tight close-ups on the various command staff and their fabulous mustaches, because this is still the 70s future.
Yes. And stashes are a thing.
Speaking of stunning stashes on command staff, we find out that although he's been let back into the field, Shiro is being watched. That there are eyes on him at all times.
And it's cut away so obvious that it's Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
And Sanders clearly is very torn about this. Meanwhile, Karen is having her own internal dilemma and reading her manual because, oh my god, this is her first drop. And this is why I wish Banks were here right now, but he's not, because I could have asked him about what his first drop was like. Because I am not an airborne, so... But,
there's so much implication in what's going on with Karen. Like, it seems like all of her backstory is taking place inside her head, and I wish I knew what was going on in there.
Yeah.
Because she's like, oh, my love, we'll be together soon. You're like, what? Huh? There's a dead husband somewhere or something?
Yeah.
Or what?
They mentioned the dead husband before, because he was the doctor.
Oh, that's right. See,
yeah.
Again, she's got the better backstory. Why aren't we following her as the main character?
So they've made two references back to the episode where Eledore got beat to shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because Eledore also makes comments about how he and Karen should be a thing, hearkening back to that when he was leaving on a stretcher, he looked at her and thought she was an angel. So.
Yeah, Eledore is suddenly nursing a major crush on Karen. But the first thing he does is express how mad he is that Shiro has a girlfriend and he doesn't.
And in a lecherous
I was so offended.
Yeah.
If you're trying to impress this woman, this is the entirely wrong way to do it.
My note here is just still hate Eledore.
Yeah, still hate Eledore. Because he hates fat chicks.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that comment.
If we know anything, from Queen, it's that fat bottom girls make the rockin' world go round. It's true.
So
Well said.
I did like the burn, however, because, okay, so they're going into this drop situation. It's Karen's first drop. She's very stressed. But the guys flying the drop plane are basically giving guff to Shiro for being a spy because of his previous interactions and his, not wanting to murder everybody he encounters. And I believe it's Sanders lays out the line, the commander couldn't be a spy. He's not crafty enough. That was a pretty sweet burn.
Yeah. I mean, it's that, but it's also he's towing that line up between being a rank and file and still continuing with the razzing, but also showing his leader that he has full confidence in him.
Yeah, it's also the internal him arguing with himself that he couldn't be a spy, which continues on throughout the episode.
And Karen goes first, and she immediately drops right in front of a Xeon transport.
And it's huge. How did they not notice that?
They got to get their sensors might have been jammed. I don't know. Somebody who is not Michelle is working those jamming sensors though, because Michelle is just dumb.
Yeah, not really related, terribly relevant in this episode. Anyway, Shiro gets out there in his suit, and somehow he's got amazing jetpack on the back of his Gundam, whereas Karen's just out there with a parachute. You'd think if she was so paranoid about it, anyway. Yeah. So
we do see this episode that Shiro does have a cooler Gundam than the two of them.
Yeah.
His is a little fancier. It's got a better helmet.
Well, he's the captain.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So he basically hugs the other ship into.
He's like, "Hey guys."
No, he does that thing where the Gundam just flies right to the cockpit of a ship and stares into it. And in Gundam Wing, this was immediately preceded by just the whole thing blowing up. But here, Shiro's just can we cool it? Can you guys be cool for 5 minutes? Are we cool?
And at first they're really no, we're not. And then the engine explodes inexplicably.
Yes,
and they're oh, wait, maybe.
Bjorn's what the hell?
He's he goes to shoot the plane, to make the plane explode. But then the engine explodes. And it's okay, you were willing to shoot yourself to kill the Fetty, but now that your engine's on fire, you're not? What? I'm confused.
He was reminded.
Do you have a death wish or not?
Yeah. He's suddenly worried about the insurance value of his...
Clearly.
Well, there's a whole thing going on with these troops, because these guys actually, we see in a minute, are working under Yuri Killarney.
Yeah, suddenly they get a sweet name, the Magella Attack Force.
Yes. Yeah. So they're sort of we are soldiers and we're full of machismo, but we care about each other.
And, it humanizes Yuri for the first time. Because it's he's a womanizer, but he actually cares about his rank and file. And he can see the overtones of the guy in charge and goes, no, we're going to scrap his idea because his idea is going to be genocide, and we're not doing that. We're better than that.
Well,
it's more of we want to do genocide in space, not on Earth.
Yeah. We want to have a place to come back to.
This is the second time, though, that the show has introduced us to Xeon forces that are in some ways a little bit more interesting than the actual troops that we're constantly being forced to stare at.
Mm-hmm. I think they got a new writing staff for the last 2 episodes because these past 2 episodes are really good writing-wise and character-wise, even though we don't get these characters for very long.
So with Shiro successfully distracting the warship, Karen lands, and she lands in a cool spray of retro rockets that are also on her parachute.
Some sweet animation this episode, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, so we do get a beautiful shot of her appreciating the lake that she's landed on the shore of until
something comes from the water. Dun dun dun.
Sweet
water suit.
Aquatic Zaku. I was all there for it. Absolutely. It was fantastic.
You know, you get your cancer now, sort of. And and long story short, Eledore and Mikkel to the rescue.
Well, Eledore, yeah,
sort of.
The best thing about that is Mikkel going, no, right across the lake trying to draw fire.
Yeah, like Eledore like exits the tank and runs to Karen's suit. And he's like, Eledore, stop the Zaku. I'm like, I'm the gunner. I can't do both.
No, he says distract the Zaku.
Yeah. He's like, well, we need 2 people to run the tank and the gun.
He's like, figure it out.
Yeah, so we get this, I don't know. I still feel awful about this Eledore Karen situation. I know what the show's trying to do. I don't know if I agree with it, but so Eledore essentially acts as Karen's gun sights because her suit has been damaged. Well, the Zaku that pops up from the water in a pretty hilarious scene immediately punches her head off, which I was under the impression the pilots were in the head. So at first I was like, wow, was that it? Like, is Karen dead? But then no, she's kind of fine.
Well, we know that about the Zakus, though.
Yeah,
most of the pilots are in the upper chest portion.
Chest. Yeah. I just was under the misimpression for a moment.
Well, what does happen though is that she's lost like her scope and her cameras.
Right.
So she has no way of telling where the Zaku or where the aquatic Zaku is. It's not as if she has like a tank that can feed her data about where the enemy is.
Yeah, you don't think they would put all the sensor units in the headpiece. Like, that seems a little obvious, guys. But anyway, Eledore manages to basically jump up on the gun and, like, iron sight it.
Yeah, like, a little bit to the left.
6 degrees to the right.
And they manage to, but there's this little well-written, although, again, I don't know if I agree with this relationship scene in which Karen is inside, she fires, and you hear the sound of the firing, but you're not entirely sure who may have actually, what may have happened, and then she's yelling for Eledore, and he doesn't initially respond, and it's this sense of how alone she is within the actual cockpit before she hops out. So that was a nice little moment, but again, I don't want to see Eledore with anybody.
My note here is I do not like this pairing, Gundam.
Yeah.
Well, in life, you also get people who choose each other that are really not supposed to.
Yeah, that's fair.
They are definitely starting to play up the sort of like that sort of anime trope of he likes her, she hates him, they're totally a couple.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, we only have 3 more episodes, so if they don't get together by the end of the 3 episodes, then I think we're safe.
Fair.
Meanwhile, we cut back to Officer Gun Show and the Magella Attack Force.
They're like, sir, we want permission to go back out there, distract them while you finish tearing apart the vehicle. And he's like, but I can't support you. That's okay. We're going to go anyway. Raw.
Well, they've spot some old tanks or something.
Yeah. They have the Xeon tank plane things.
Right.
Which are very 70s and very cool. And they're going to distract the units that are in the area so that the rest of the troops can get to the base undercover.
Yeah.
And their little ambush does look pretty cool, like with those tanks dug in so that just their turrets are above. And
but like, how much time did they spend with that? Like, did they have an excavator for that? Because otherwise, like, strategy brain goes, they did not have enough time to do that.
Yeah, fair. Well, actually, let's touch on how they may have had enough time to do that, because we also learned this episode that the Absolus is being constructed by tweakers.
Yes.
So we see a scene. Sorry, what's Jericho's real name?
Ina. So Ina is helping deliver medicine, and she gives like the best like, yeah, I have some experience delivering medicine.
It's on my resume. And in her experience, she somehow manages to drop a box. Well, it's implied it's the other guy trying to help her. And it splits open, and she realizes in reality she's delivering, I guess,
speed or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the officer, like the guy that helps her, is not okay.
No, definitely not. He looks very skinny.
He's like skinny and like tired, or maybe just distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And then she looks at the bottle, and we can't see what's on the bottle, but she's just like, "You're giving them this?
How dare you? The project must be finished."
Yeah, like he is vaguely like, I feel bad about this, but not bad enough to stop. So,
So clearly, the Hippocratic Oath does not apply in wartime.
Well,
so very sketchy. Very sketchy. And then we start to see her brother's true colors come through. Because where we were seeing, him having confidence in his sister, having, a kind of nonchalant, yeah, this is going to happen, and I don't think I need to take any action to support these troops. Now we see the sort of mania that that he's got, because what's his name again? Yuri? When Yuri gets in the way of his plans for the Absolus, he's just like, oh, you're going to get in my way? Well, guess what? And essentially kills Yuri right when he was about to get interesting.
Well, the first thing he does is he says he can't, like, shelter the troops at the base. Because that would reveal its location, and then the Absolus couldn't be finished. Right. But his real motivation is Yuri's the only person that knows that the Absolus project has been canceled. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the last surviving officer on Earth who knows that.
Right.
So his plan is to say, like, he has a conversation with Aino where he's like, well, I'm going to try and get those orders rescinded. And he's going to do that by committing murder.
Yeah, by literally incinerating. But, okay, so sorry, we should back up a step, though, because Yuri is standing basically outside the gates, waiting for Magella Attack Force to return, because he feels like he sent them off to war in terrible old clunkers. And there's a little bit of back and forth, and Magella does manage to escape, and they
Magella has a nice... like Bjorn, the commander of the Magella Force, who is the guy who is on the bridge on the other ship, has a conversation with Shiro because he wants to understand why Shiro didn't kill them.
Yeah.
And Shiro explains his reasoning, and Bjorn's like, "That's dumb."
And then he starts shooting at Sanders.
Yes.
And Sanders is thrown back. And he's like, Sanders, are you okay? My leg is broken. Are you bleeding? It's my son's leg, not mine.
My robot's leg is broken. and this is the point where Shiro has another big revelation, is that he can't, in conscience, fight for the Federation, but he can still fight for his friends. So he does fight Bjorn with the power of friendship.
And a laser sword.
Actually, and he still gets away.
It's a pretty sweet move, and it's kind of sad that he gets away, because it's like he leaps forward with this sweet sword swipe, and the top of the tank flies up into the air, and then the Gundam weird head gun thing starts firing, and there's like machine gun fire, and it looks like he totally just Swiss cheeses the tank top, and then you get this hilarious sensor scene where it's like just the commander guy running at full speed, basically double gun fingers at Shiro.
So basically he launched the top of it and he wasn't in it.
Yep.
Right.
And so Shiro just starts laughing maniacally because he didn't have to kill anybody. Yay!
Well, he does have a little flashback to the commander that he had to kill last episode.
Yeah.
So we see the return of Magella Attack Force, all three of them, back to Commander Machismo, and they're about to return to the interior of the base and, get back to space, essentially, which is what they just keep saying to each other. And that's when things turn.
Yep.
We knew that something bad was going to happen when those two guys got names. That's like, oh, you got a first name. That's the kiss of death.
Are you invested? Are you invested in them?
Yeah.
Guess what?
John, Larry, we hardly knew ye.
I think it was Larry. It was Barry and Levanov or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So those guys I kind of expected might go, but Yuri?
I thought he might have the presence of mind to grab his commander and run.
Yeah.
Well, no, I thought Yuri was gonna... Like, I feel it was pretty telegraphed that Yuri is gonna, like, make the sacrifice for his team. Like, there's only two ways a Gundam story goes. Either everyone lives or everyone dies.
Yeah.
And I think Shiro was on one path and Yuri was on the other. So, Genias... So he does, like, talk with Genias on the radio a little bit. And Genias reveals that he has his secretary, like, tied up and tortured or drugged, maybe? It's not really clear.
No, she's it's clear to me that she was drugged because there were bottles next to her. So I'm pretty sure she was drugged.
But Genias is more of a creep, and he collapses, like, he explodes the tunnel and buries the four of them. Although all the other troops have presumably gotten inside.
Yeah. With, blast shield doors closed.
Yeah. But the thing that we see at the end of the episode is the plume of smoke from him collapsing the tunnel and Shiro seeing it. So by doing that, he has revealed his location.
He's actually
which is the thing he said he didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Right. So that is to say we've actually had an episode where I really want to know what happens next episode.
Yes. So we've reached the climax, and it is all very exciting and awesome.
So do we have any favorite moments?
I think just the smug look on that commander's face when he like smiles and is running away after they thought he was dead, and he's like, bye.
There were some really good gags in this episode. One of the ones, my favorite moment was actually another one. I don't know if you guys noticed, but what's the name of Commander Mustache for the Fetties?
Kojima.
Yeah, so
it's Kojima and Rain, I think.
Okay, so he's essentially divulging that he's got a plant in Shiro's unit, and he's under extremely close observation. Like, he's really emphasizing it, extremely close observation. But as he's saying it, they do this pan that actually Spence already mentioned, where they make it really obvious that it's Sanders. But the thing is, Sanders isn't paying attention. That gag, the whole thing is that Shiro has to be like, Sanders, are you paying attention, Sanders? And Sanders is not in any way paying attention to Shiro.
Yeah, like, Sanders is so preoccupied with the internal struggle, he's not actually doing the secret job he was assigned.
But just that it was...
I was kind of hoping that it would be fake out and it was Karen. Or Eledore. But yeah, it was pretty good.
It could be Eledore.
Yeah. I really did like the line where Karen was like, Eledore, shut up. But my favorite part of the episode was definitely the super beautiful high production value simulation of the Absolus blowing up Jarborough. Because, like, they must have put so much money into that. That is like, they hired a Hollywood effects studio.
Michael
like
Bay.
There is beautiful gouts of flame. Like, it is really, really well animated.
Yeah.
And it's like on this projection on the floor that they're all gathered around. Like, it is really high tech. And
yes, it's fantastic. And the beautiful thing is, it's really to a point, because they'd be like, oh, it could blow up our missile areas. Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. I guess we don't need to do this high-resolution, full-out animation of it flying down from outer space.
Yeah, like, I don't know why they did that. Well, obviously they did it in the show so that they could have the fake-out.
Right.
But, like, it makes no military sense. It's like, it's gonna go after our base, and it's strong enough to do that from space. And you're done.
Yeah, basically, end of presentation. The PowerPoint deck is one slide.
Also, I looked it up online, and apparently Apsalus is a name of an ancient Macedonian town, but it doesn't really mean anything other than that.
Well,
that town's not notable for anything. It's just a name of a town.
They just grab something random. Yeah. Like, in the same way that they just grabbed a random snippet of Photoshop instructions and throw it in an episode. Just Google something they like the sound of.
Special thanks. Okay, so Jurd, did we get your special or favorite part?
Yes, it was the Sanders isn't paying attention during the extremely close observation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so have we got everything then?
We got everything.
All right, and we are in half an hour. So thanks for listening. You can find all of our show notes over at nostalgiapilots.com, and you can follow us on Twitter at nostalgiapilots. Find me, everything I do, over at hughjodonnell.com, and on Facebook you can follow me at facebook.com/everydaydrabbles for a new 100-word story every day.
And they are fantastic. You can find all of my nonsense over at skinner.fm.
And you can find me at resonantmoon.com.
So join us next time when we are looking at episode 10, The Shuddering Mountain, part 1.
You know what this episode was missing? Dear BB, today I heroically drew fire while skidding across a lake. You should be super proud. Michelle.